Trying again to start this stream. I hope everybody's having a better day than I am. I wanted to do this stream just to talk about how the alts, B's and C's and just show all of the charts I did yesterday. But stream issues, so I've had to delete all the ones I've done already. And I already did a 2 hour stream covering all of them, only to find out that it had failed dismally. Um, so yeah, I'm now trying on my laptop, so excuse the camera, which is really not very great. Um, and yeah, we'll see how we go on this attempt. So, a quick update on Bitcoin just to start with. We had this low that we were looking at from last week, at the start of last week. So we swing failed some of the lows over to the left. There was still more that we could have taken that we didn't. But we had a strong move up from there, which has obviously been helped along by the US Trump inauguration antics over the last couple of days. I was looking for a retracement here on the 4 hour supply, just taking out those to start with because I didn't think we'd get such a strong move straight off a Monday, but it turned out that we did. Um, so I was looking ideally so the last update I did, I had possible shorts here and possible shorts here in an 8 hour supply up the top. So this one got very little and it didn't even pull back into the demand entry that I wanted. So I was hoping like once the daily was confirmed that we get an entry on the daily, and then I think even deeper in here there was in NPOC and 61 fib. You can still see I've got alerted in there. Um, then since then we've then obviously moved up, so we did get a decent move off this supply. It came up a couple of times, but then by then had made daily demand, so has then held that for a couple of tests, and now we're moving up again. Um, a lot of what we had that push was the Korea pair over the weekend, and I actually wondered if it meant that the dollar would drop because the Korea pair was showing so much strength, and we did actually have that yesterday. So that's kind of interesting. But either way, we swing failed the high here, but haven't come down and taken out the low yet, and nor have we come back. So I eventually added an alert on this new weekly demand there, potentially taking out Thursday's low. So that's still an area to look if we get a retest there. Um, and then failing that, obviously now you're blindly looking for shorts. So the next possible zone that you should consider, obviously bearing in mind this is still bullish, this is not only hope at this stage. We could be forming a sort of Wyckoff accumulation pattern, distribution pattern in here. But we still need to see like signs of weakness, which we're not seeing as yet. However, as I explained last time, we do have the 113 and 127 fib area to be concerned with. So looking around the 110 level, there are quite a lot of order walls sell walls on I think both Binance and Coinbase, assuming they're still there. I haven't looked for a few hours. So this 113 just starts just above 110. So just start watching out. Be careful in there if you're in longs, and all start looking for potential short entries in that area if we're going to get another failed wave. But as I said, bearing in mind it could still just continue breaking out at this point. And then retest wise, I'll just see what new demands made. I think we're looking like we're going to create another daily in there today, so we could possibly get another tap off the top of here before that push. But yeah, see what happens later. But this weekly area is sort of where I'd be looking for longs next, and it coincides quite nicely with the career pair created a 2 week demand and a weekly demand. So again, we'd like to see those tested around the same time. And the CME pair obviously also has the weekly demand and a 4 day inside it. So that kind of middle of the range area is where you want to be start looking for longs. US dollar dominance. This is obviously what we mainly look at for confluence. I would talked about the possibility of a small bounce in here, coinciding with that 4 hour that we were looking to short on my last video on Bitcoin, but it barely got any move whatsoever. And again, obviously, it was a risk because we'd taken out these highs. We're now sort of breaking trend. We didn't make a weekly supply, but we have a 5 day in there. So to show the 5 day picture. So the 5 day obviously has taken a wick, rejected. So I'm looking for this to come down, as I've said in the previous video, into this 6 month slash 2 week zone, which is also partly the, coincides with the 61 fib. So there's a confluence there. So at the point this potentially hits that zone, we would then want Bitcoin to potentially be hitting this 113 fib and for some decent confluence. And then I potentially look for more of a reversal. So I'll leave that on Bitcoin as the final summary. And then the other thing I wanted to look at, because I wanted to look at alts, was just total three others, total DeFi charts, because it can show why I'm sort of indecisive on alts. So total three, we created a 3 week demand and we dipped quite deeply into that, but we have held it. It's then now created a 5 day. I think it didn't quite create a new weekly. Just check. No, but it created a 5 day on top of that. So it's still holding and it's still pushing. Total three looks slightly stronger than others, which I'll show in a minute. But we are still consolidating at supply, or just under the high. So we're looking for that push to break out. It's not ideal, to be honest. Oh, in its favor, it does actually have this yearly. So the total three did close above the yearly level. So let me just show that without the pictures on it. So we did close last year just above this yearly level, and we haven't quite tapped it, I don't think, or we haven't on the yearly. I know. So we did tap it on the. If you look at the lower time frame, the wicks change on these market cap charts depending on what time frame you're looking at. So we have tapped this yearly. So this could potentially see a lot of strength coming off that, and then we would see the bigger alts break out, or bounce, more to the point. So the difficulty with this is that it doesn't really resemble what the alts are looking like at the moment. So a lot of the alts have come back down. They're in this zone and or this down here. So I think this is very much being driven by some of those bigger alts that are stronger, like Ripple, Sol. And I assume they take up, because this is the market cap. They're higher market caps. They're going to take up a bigger part of this picture. So yeah, total three is still looking strong on the lower time frames, but it's still right at resistance. So we still need to see that break out of this consolidation. Others, on the other hand, is not quite as good. It did create a 3 weekly demand, but by even less of a hair than total three did. But then it hasn't bounced as strongly, so it did also create a 2 weekly supply, and again only by a hair. So we're still in a consolidation, and I can't be overly bearish, but this is looking slightly more bearish than total three, and total DeFi sort of shows similar. So we're really just looking for, is this consolidation going to break, and which way is it going to break? It's stuck under this 2 week supply and a 5 day supply. Just delete that. It's at that failed wave 113 to 127 zone. And again, like I said, with total three, like really, if I see a breakout, I would rather it broke out from lower. So you really like, when we consolidate at resistance, it's not ideal. So like you want to see something like this where it's consolidated below resistance, and then it can have a push to move through the immediate resistance. At least that's what we see more often than not on Bitcoin. Like consolidating at resistance, I don't know, I tend to find doesn't work out as well. You wanted to consolidate a bit lower for then a big push through resistance. So I guess we'll see what happens. But this is kind of reflected in some of the altcoins that we're seeing, and it's not dissimilar to this actually. This sort of choppy downtrends, and it's hard to know if we're going to push back up. So I put some quite aggressive alerts on the alts. But then we'll just see if they start breaking, then they start breaking, because the higher time frames could still point that way. Total DeFi is similar to others. We didn't create a 3 week demand, but does have the 2 week supply. So again, still consolidating at resistance. So possibly things could still fall from here. So just be wary, and pick your alts wisely as well, because a lot of the alts have they're also quite mixed. Like some are very bullish and some are very, very bearish. So, which I quite like, because it means you can trade in both directions. But yeah, it does make it slightly challenging, but I'll get to that anyway. And then finally on others dominance, which actually reflects, so more than the market cap, this reflects more what a lot of the alts look like, and why I'm kind of indecisive is that we're on this, at least we're on an annual demand, whereas that's not the case for most alts. But locally, we've got a monthly demand, but we've kind of come down into it. We've already bounced and we're now dipping again into it. So it's, and now we have 2 week supply above, 5 day supply. A lot of the alts have 2 week, 5 day, 4 day, all mixed up, all above. So again, are these monthly demands, which aren't great monthly demands because of the triangle and because of the fact they mostly haven't made higher highs, are these monthly demands going to hold? I'm not sure. We're already seeing some come through, some bouncing okay. So again, are we just going to see a mixture of what alts are doing? You know, it's essentially in this giant triangle and it could still break either way. So yeah, let's move on to the alts. My stream still seems to be okay, so hopefully this is not another futile stream. So I had a few alerts come through today, so just to show those quickly. Actually, this is a less updated chart. We had a really nice move off Elon, and I think Trump also hit the support. And then these are some of one of the ones that come. These aren't the ones that have come through today, actually, but these are ones that have come through in the last couple of days. So some stronger than others, but like mostly we can see demands holding. Oh, there's Trump. So that hit an 8 hour demand, but it's not as clean on the whatever, I think this is the MEXC or the Bitmart chart. So yeah, anyway, wrong chart. If you want access to my alerts, you need to go into Telegram and join my premium group, and then you can get all the alerts as and when they hit, and you can get such like this where you're getting decent moves of zones. So mostly my alerts are so those two levels keep reappearing. Having some anyway. Yeah, so sorry, I'm just seeing issues in my chart that I want to fix. Alert. So yeah, sorry. I was going to say about the alerts. So the alerts are generally for like they're more for scalps than for long-term trades, but obviously long-term it can have it just depends. So for example, something like this, I'm not sure what that would have been. This is probably a monthly demand, so it can, you know, obviously if things are monthly demands, it can come significantly deeper inside the zone. And I think in some of these cases you'll see some of these alerts where the alert is sort of at the top and it may have given a scalp at the top, and in this case not very much at all, but then it's come much deeper into demand, but it's still potentially held the monthly for a new high. So, but for me, like because I'm a scalper, and I think most of my group are scalper or you know intra-week, intraday trades, then the alerts provide value because you're then going, okay, this has hit a monthly demand. Where's the nearest supply? So in this case, for example, this would have given you a scalp of the weekly or weekly demand in there, and it's just taken you up to a 2 week supply. Depends if they still existed on that time frame, but it's a few days up move. Doesn't look very big when you're looking at the big chart, but it could have given you, if you got a low time entry on that low time frame on a 15 minute or 1 hour, for example, you can take the scalp. If you're looking for the bigger move, then you have to wait for supply to fail, retest. Is it going to make a higher low? In this case, no, it didn't. It's come deeper in the demand, etc., etc. Sometimes I'll, you know, like this, I was looking for a swing failure here of this all-time high, either that or the breakout retest trade. So in this case, it gave a swing failure, gave a really nice 12-hour supply for the follow-up short. So if you get something like that off the bigger picture, then potentially it can give you the bigger move. Anyway, that's just the alerts. But so the reason I'm saying that is also because some of the alerts I'm going to go through now are really quite challenging. So, for example, so BABYDOGE is a good example of this to start with. So we've got a new annual demand down here, and then there's a 6 month deeper inside that. You know, but it could still, you know, the annual demand could still hold and have the price go all the way down to the bottom of it at the 2 week demand and retrace this whole pump. So it's possible that that will happen. And then similarly, the more aggressive entry was on this 3 month. Well, maybe that wasn't a 3 month when that went in, but 3 months demand off the top. So it can retrace it anywhere in here, but we're seeing lots of supply being made. And so the problem we have on the supply side is we now have, on a lot of alts, we've got this 2-week supply, that zone there. And then, but it was already a weekly, which has already been wicked. So if we come back to these, are we going to get, with the wick already going into it, are we going to get a rejection there? Then in addition to that, if you look at the 5-day, we've just had a lot of chop on the way down. So now we've got a new 5-day and 4-day right above here, which hasn't been tested yet. You can see, this bounce came up and tested that as a weekly before coming lower. There's a 5-day in there that's already been tested. We've got a daily up here that hasn't been tested. So it's quite hard with, and a lot of alts look similar to this. So it's quite hard to know, are we going to get the big play out of this annual 6-month monthly demand, anything that's in there, for a massive move, that's just going to break out, because that's the high time frame view. Or are we going to follow more of the low time frames and just see, there's various options. We could get a decent move off here that rejects there, comes deeper into here before playing out the annual. Or we could just see a continued drift of death for a while until the whole market's ready. So that's why you're just looking at zones and looking at what reaction you get off the zones. So in the case of BABYDOGE, so what I've tried to do with a lot of these alts is put less aggressive alerts where they are still holding a much more bullish structure like this. So in this case, I've put an alert for the daily supply at the top, because I think that's always worth watching the start of a drop, the start of a move down, or the start of a move up. But I haven't put more aggressive ones here. That doesn't mean to say it won't reject off the 5-day here. That's entirely possible. But yeah, we just need to see. So what you're looking for, so from a long perspective, when this zone hits, if this zone hits, if it hasn't already bounced higher, you're looking for some supply to break and then new demand to be formed before you can then trade a bigger up move. Until then, you're just scalping within this lower time frame downtrend. And when I say the lower time frame, this is still a weekly, 4-day, 5-day downtrend versus this massive, very high time frame, 3-month, 1-year uptrend. So yeah, in this case, we've got the next alert on this 1-year demand, and then a short alert at that daily supply up there. And I'll try and speed up a little bit through the rest of these, because I don't want to be here for 2 hours. So Badger was a bit of a challenging one. I'll have to spend more time on the ones that are more challenging. So this has made, we've got a handful, not many, that made a 6-month demand. So you can see this has closed, that green candle closed very slightly above there. It's a weak 6-month demand, and I've seen a lot of these fail, but I also, having said that, don't want to trade against them as such. So, this could just move from where it is now. It hasn't made the 2-weekly supply that a lot of things have. It's got this sort of large 5-day demand in there, and it's still got a 5-day supply, so it's still dubious. If it comes down here, I would look for longs again at the start of this up move because of that 6-month demand. And then I'm not looking for aggressive shorts on this again because of the 6-month demand. Still in monthly supply and hasn't got through there yet. But because of this 6-month, we could expect to potentially take out the and in fact, from a 6-month perspective, it could take out this high. But given it's not a strong demand, I wouldn't necessarily think that's the case. And also note that we are coming down from a 6-month supply. So a lot of the high time frames actually are quite awkward on alts as well, because we have hit major zones. We've got major zones on both sides. So it's hard to know if those zones, is the 6-month going to play out for a move down breaking the lows, and this is just a blip in the middle. Or, do we really have the demand on this? So this 6 months rejected, but we've now got a higher low. So we're actually looking at this. And we can still obviously go higher into the 6-month supply above as well. So yeah, a lot of these, because of a lot of the alts are just in triangles. They are just, for me, challenging. And you'll find, a lot of other people will just say, oh, well, they're bullish, and they'll look at this structure and say, oh, well, it's bullish, higher, low, etc. But I think a lot of people are forgetting these major supplies that we're coming from. And yeah, so I guess it makes me more bearish. I can err on the bearish side, so it's possible that's just making me more bearish overall. I'm gonna put that weekly level back in there just in case it bounces a little higher. But yeah, so anyway, as I said, from the 6-month perspective on Badger, yeah, I'll look for longs on this. Is actually just an 8-hour demand at the start of this up move. I'll look for longs there if we return there, and for shorts potentially in this 5-day supply up here. Bake. So Bake major 3-month demand, but you can see it's tapped on it multiple times. And again, we see this with quite a few of the alts that we've got these demands. And in this case, it's a 3-month, but in some cases there are dailies where we've got multiple taps on it. So we're still holding this range. Could still go up from here, but once we're up to 4 taps, I would be a lot more skeptical. So there is a possibility I think this will break down now. I've still put a relatively aggressive alert there, and it does make me slightly nervous that we could run through a lot more of these weeklies having consolidated here for so long if we do break down. So you're looking for quite a quick bounce. So actually the alert is actually for the 2-week, although there's a 3-day just above. But yeah, just look at that first 2-week demand inside if it revisits there. What we'll just have to watch out for when these or if these come down is in the next 10 days or so is if we're going to start creating a new monthly supply. So we just need to be aware of that. In this case, 3 weeks. So I've put some of the 3-week zones in, even though we haven't actually created them yet. Not sure why I've been slightly more conservative on this. Yeah, so I was going to say also with some of these entries, like I've just mixed them up a bit. So we've got some that are less conservative and some that are more conservative. This is more conservative at the 5-day, 4-day supply above. And I've put some just in this central zone, just so we've got a mixture of aggressive entries and less aggressive entries. So this obviously has that. It's got the 2-week supply. It's just this another one illustrating the mess in the middle here that we've got. That we had a 5-day supply, which I just drawn, which was rejected. It then created a weekly, which is rejected. The weekly is now a 2-weekly, maybe a 3-weekly, but we've still got this 5-day up here that hasn't been tested, and we've got a new 5-day supply here close to price. So it's just tentative at this point. We can see we've got the possibility of this just rejecting and breaking straight down from there, or we could run through because we are still at this bigger support and the bottom of the range again. So just remove those. So yes, it's just challenging. So any of these, you can look at this immediate supply and try and get entries there for a move down. I think on this one, I went slightly more conservatively because of these already having been tested on the low time frames and the fact we do still have 3 months demand on this. And while I think it's probably going to break until it breaks, then you can't make that assumption until you actually see it happen. BAL, I think this is one of the ones. So this looks stronger on the lower time frames. It's already hit weekly, monthly demand alert that I had down there. But while it looks strong on the lower time frames, the higher time frame is still very much in this 3-month downtrend. So it's rejected. Made 3-month supply, rejected 3-month supply, made 3-month supply, rejected 3-month supply. And the difference now is that we have this new quite clean monthly demand, but then arguably we had a new clean monthly demand here, and it might have tried to bounce off the top of it a bit, but then it went straight through it. So this is a bit of a nicer one than that one, just because of the structure. This is sort of a midway up structure. This tried to swing fail that monthly, but again, so it is possible we start to put in uptrends now, but until we see supply break, it's still tentative. But having said that, the lower time frames on this don't look bad. So this is something you can consider, I think, for long entries. But I mean, there might just be better things for longs. Like some things are just going to look a lot stronger. So while this looks okay, a lower time frame, it's still in a 3-month downtrend, whereas others will be in a 3-month uptrend. So that's probably a better thing to watch out for. But anyway, yeah, so I haven't put a re-entry on this at the moment because there's nothing on the mid time frames that I like. But there's something you can watch there, if there's a daily demand that's put in. In fact, there is a daily demand that's put in. There's nothing wrong with looking for longs on daily demand like that once you've got that bounce off the higher time frame demand below. Due to the fact we've already tested this, I've gone with a much higher potential short entry on this. And the fact it's coming from monthly demand, this could get a higher push through. It's already hit this supply, so it could come up to the next supply at this point. Banana, it's got 11% bounce today, so one of the stronger ones. So this has come down. So again, another slightly challenging one, and I'll show the 2-month. The reason why is that it did have a 2-month demand, and it's flipped it to a 2-month supply. And the demand was weak and the supply is weak, so it could still go either way from here. But that's why my chart looks a complete mess with a giant brown zone above and then a giant brown zone below the price. I haven't actually got the 2-month in there now, but I've got the monthly. So we're still holding a monthly demand on this, but now has this 2-monthly supply. And because the 2-monthly supply is more recent, I'm more inclined to be bearish. You can see here that we've got the 2-week supply that I've talked about on that we're seeing on most of these alts, and in this case, it's pushing quite hard into it. And so on this, I've already got the alert for 4-day supply up higher, so I hadn't done a more aggressive alert on this. And again, when we're seeing things take out stops here, then there's a fair chance they're going to take out stops at the high. So I wouldn't want to be too aggressive on a short entry on this. However, I'm comfortable looking once it's gone, if it can get through this 2-week supply and if it doesn't flip it to 2-week demand. But again, it's just what do we call this? I mean, essentially, it's just a range bounded by this low, and it's looking ropey, like it wants to potentially break down, but we still need to see so we've got a lower high put in, but we haven't got a lower low. So just draw that for you quickly. So that's your higher high, retest, lower high. So this is potentially a sign of rolling over, but we need to see this low broken. Ideally this low broken, and in fact this is what's holding up the whole consolidation. Once all those break, then we're much more confident of shorts. Until now, it's still a sideways consolidation really, with a slightly bearish slant now due to the 2-month supply that's been put in. So anyway, that's your short entry up there, and potential long entry is very bearish, or if it gets down to the monthly demand. And again, yeah, it's bearish in that, like, I don't necessarily expect it to come here. So what we're looking at with zones is if it hits this zone, then I'll be looking for a long. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to come here. So if you're in longs, don't freak out. Just like trade whatever structures you see break here. If you see a new supply, you've got the lower high already. If you see a demand break, then you might want to start de-risking a bit. But at the moment, we're still holding this local range, so it could still very easily go up. Band was a challenging one because it had this 6-month. It had this 6-month supply. It's just a really nasty chart on the 6-month. So it made a 6-month demand when it closed this strong candle, came down really deep inside it, and then came down and then closed below there. So it sort of flipped it to a 6-month supply, but then still managed to hold like a higher low from the demand perspective for a really strong move, but now it's closed back down. So I don't like, my bias on this is very mixed, and this is much what I said when I looked at the others dominance chart. So it's holding this weekly demand there. It had a monthly, but it's very much just in a sideways range. Oops. We're just in a range here, and is the range going to break up? Is the range going to break down? So I don't want to be overly bearish at support, but again, we've got 1, 2, 3 hits on this weekly zone, and it's starting to look more possible that it will break with 3 lower highs coming in. On the bull, that's on the bear side. On the bull side, we still have monthly demand. So again, that challenge, that is this monthly demand going to hold? Are we going to get that bigger push that's now going to take us out of here, or are we going to break down? So again, like obviously I wouldn't say short this at support. Monthly demand, we just need to see whether this is going to pick up a decent move off monthly demand. Again, because it's monthly demand, because it's it's a sort of second test on it really. But again, I haven't put a more aggressive short entry on that 2-week supply. It's already got the wick into it on the weekly. So potentially look at getting, if it tests higher, getting a test in this 5-day, leads into that 5-day, or the alerts actually in the 4-day above. So I'm just being slightly more conservative on that. It also hasn't quite hit my long alert there, so I think I've already, yeah, when I did the chart, it's sort of too late as such. So we've got already hitting the monthly demand there, and then we just need to see if this 5-day holds at the bottom of there. And if that starts to break down, then we're looking significantly lower. So we're watching the signs across the whole market. You know, that others chart, is that going to break up or is that going to break down? And this is why I say I'm surprised what others looks like, because so many of the alts just look like this with this sort of sideways range for 2 years. BAN. I've got 3 charts for this because it was messy. So this is something I actually called yesterday in the premium channel because it was one of the few things I saw when I was looking through the Bs that looked decent. So it had made a weekly demand here. So that gave a quite a nice entry off the weekly demand there. And it's also one of the ones that's got a bit of a gap to supply. So it's not looking overly strong and it hasn't got past the daily supply yet, but you know, it's still consolidating, but at least this potentially isn't going to be strong supply. So we might get a move up here, which is why I thought it was worth looking at. The other concern I did have is that the BitGet chart had a 2-day and 3-day demand slightly lower. So it is possible this comes down and takes out the lows again. But and so I've got an alert there for longs if it does. The trade from yesterday, the stop should be at break even now. So if it breaks down, it's not a problem, and if it breaks up, then great. So we want to start seeing some strength on this. Really, you know, it's taking its time, and I just don't want it. There is a chance it can still just turn into a bear flag. What happened to the trend line I just drew there? Appeared and then disappeared. So you know, the bear trade on this is, you know, if the trend line breaks, then look for shorts. But at the moment, it's holding. Bar. I think this was just very, very messy. It's high time frame, you know, just I mean, it's not something I'd really want to trade anyway, so I won't spend too much time on this. You can see all these wicks through here. On the high time frame, I think it's coming down off 6-month or 3-month supply. So no, not 6 months, but coming down. So again, rejection of 3-month supply in here, and then a deep push into there, but a fairly strong rejection of the 3-month supply, and now back down in weekly demand. I mean, it is the rounded retest of weekly demand. It did get a strong bounce, but straight up into 2-week supply. So this isn't something that I really want to, you know, the longs are done now. If there was a long here again, it's finished. And potentially that could go to all-time low. If it does give a retest, you know, and holds a retest and starts to move back into an uptrend here, there's nowhere I really want to short again either. And again, it's just wicky and messy, so I'd look for a short potentially all the way up here should it get there. It's a bit of a waste of an alert, really. But that's the sort of the next clean, untested 4-day supplies at the top of that down move. So if we are going to get, you know, the second move up on alts across the board, then I probably wouldn't look to short any of these interim zones because they're just too messy and they've all been tested. But I think it was on the perp chart. So that's like similar to band, and I guess probably a lot of the older coins with history are going to look like this. So again, we've just got this large range bounded by a monthly supply at the high. It's made a slightly lower high here. Come down and already tested 3-week demand. I've got another alert in on the monthly demand just below there. If it's going to hold this range, then great. And I've got another alert here because it didn't, I think that wick didn't quite test. It came off the 2-week supply there, but didn't quite test the monthly supply. So if I've got a possible alert just for a swing fail there, if it swing fails, alternatively could go up to the 3-month up there if it's going to be stronger. So again, similar to a lot of other things, we're just looking for, is this monthly demand going to hold? And I think, you know, I have the US dollar chart just to check some of the high time frames. So it does have a 6-month level here. It's not ideal now. It's went down into it far too many times, but yeah. So those are the levels of interest on BAT. And you can probably see a little bit more now why I'm just being these are just scalp entries because I don't think there's anything in here that's really telling me, yeah, that we're very bullish or we're very bearish. The odd coin has it as an exception, but for the most part, they're just in ranges, and are they just going to continue going sideways? BB monthly demand, it's a second test on it. But the monthly demand isn't sitting next to anything over here or on anything over here, so it's a bit of a dubious one. Looking for shorts in 2-week supply if it retests up there. I think this didn't. Okay, so the weekly on this is a lot lower, but there's a 5-day and a 2-day up here, so that's possible for shorts if we get a retest. And then again, it's just, are we going to hold this demand? Is the market as a whole going to hold? But it's not a level I would particularly want to be looking for longs at right now. BCCOIN, so we're moving into now some of the MEXC coins that just look very, very bearish and have just been in these epic downtrends. So these are a little bit hard for me to call because really, are they ever going to retest? And if they do retest, is that going to be the point of a trend reversal? But so here I had an alert on monthly supply up here, but it never came back to test it. Now I've moved it down, so now it's on the 2-3 week supply there, but it may or may not ever come back to test it. It's confirmed a 5-day supply right here, so it could just reject now. So a lot of these, that I'll show now on MEXC, you can just look for scalps if you want. Like I said, the difficulty is they're not coming necessarily back up to test the high time frame net levels, or you get occasional blips like this where it throws in a wick, and in this case actually went through weekly supply. So they can just throw wicks like this at random, but these are nothing wrong with scalping these low time frame if you see 12-hour, 8-hour, 4-hour supply. They're sort of bottomless coins. The other thing is what you should really check is if you are going to trade these is whether there's just history on. So go to Dex Screener and see if there's any history, because if this is coming back down to a high time frame, any sort of time frame support from when it was released originally before MEXC got hold of it, then it's possible it can find support when you're not really expecting it. So I do suggest checking those there to check they do. They're not coming into something significant. BEAMX is another one of the stronger ones on the higher time frame. Has a 6-month demand that it held, and now is retesting monthly inside. So I think the 6-month. I know the 6-month hasn't been tested. So if we get down there, so I think this alert actually, I had this alert went yesterday, and I think I said, okay, this is a monthly demand, but also watch the 6-month level below. So I might throw that alert in there now. So if it does dip deeper inside this monthly 6-month demand, so if it does dip a bit deeper inside this monthly demand, then that's where I would look for longs. Then above, we've got 2-week supply, 5-day, 5-day. So, but I've been more conservative on the entry, just going for the 5-day at the top there because we're on monthly demand. So this could at least run through that level. And this could potentially end up more bullish as well, but it might just need another wave. So we could end up seeing this structure make a triangle for then the bigger move up, but it might just take a lot longer doing that. But something that's worth keeping an eye on. This is not a horrendous structure compared to some of the other bearish things I've seen. Beer, had again a massive move with the rest of the market in December. I know it was November, slightly early, but has retraced the entire thing. And now I think has monthly supply, and then it's got 3-week and 2-week in it. So I have done a more aggressive alert on this on 3-week, 2-week supply in there. It's a bit of a difficult one because it has this giant wick, but just watch the level here to see if it gives a rejection. And then hopefully won't be doing the higher low here. Bit of a risky one, but we'll see. Bell, another one that's just a bit messy. Some more reappearing zones. So On this, we're coming off monthly supply. It appears we've got a yearly, so we also came off yearly supply in there. So we came off monthly supply at the top, and then yeah, also in yearly supply. But now we're back in monthly demand. But in this case, you can see. So this was what I gave this. What I was talking about at the beginning, that you can see that we came back into this monthly demand in the brown area, and it came really deep inside it because it's coming off monthly supply, not a strong demand. And it didn't break monthly supply. And in some cases, we've seen this move did break monthly supply, but a lot of them are on a wick and have closed much more weakly. But so in this case, yeah, it's given a bounce. So obviously I had the alert at the open of the zone, but it's come down quite deep inside. It's given a bounce, hasn't gone very high. And also some of the alts, one thing I haven't commented on was we haven't got to one yet, have created this 3-week supply. So again, you've got the close below here. It's created a 3-week supply that we've got in blue. Just again, just really messy, and my zones are on top of each other. I apologize for that. Now it makes it quite hard to see. 2-week supply there, so this could just reject here simply. But again, my alert's slightly more conservative because we've got this monthly demand. So again, we'll see. You can just see that chop on the 5-day there. And when you've got this chop like this, you can just see these zones just run straight through. If the market just suddenly gets some strength into it. So we'll see what happens. We've alert for 5-day short there on 5-day supply, and possible long on 3-day demand down here. And again, just in sort of a giant range. BENDOG. So this has actually hit my short alert today from what I set yesterday. So I have a long down here on weekly demand. This one I think I was more bearish. So we've got, I know we are in a kind of a big 2 months demand down here. So that's challenging. But yeah, coming off monthly supply. So again, monthly supply, the wick's gone up into it and it's rejected. So I was slightly more bearish because of that. And then at this 2-week supply, same as everything else, and it's coming, it has closed relatively strongly. It's not the strongest supply, but I went slightly more aggressive due to the rejection on monthly supply up there. So that's just hit today. Let me just have a look. Where has it gone? No, okay. So that's just hit in there today. There's also a daily supply in here. It can go a bit higher if it wants to. I don't love that wick. But yeah, just watching to see if this gets a breakdown from here. Else, probably looking at the 3-day supply up there. And again, similar to as I've said for other rules, if this is the bottom, then we expect probably the bigger push to take out the immediate supplies. Okay, beta. Another one that's looking more bearish. The only possible exception to that is the fact that it's just got a swing fail of this low. So again, has just hit my alert. And this, I had this alert 5-day, 1-week supply, possible 3 weeks. So it's one of the 3 weeks that I put in. So it's actually come off the 3-week level. And that's just hit today as well. And it could have swing failed this low, and then we might start seeing a push up. But until we break some local supply, we can't say that that's going to be the case. It's also still coming off monthly supply here as well. So the monthly supply is essentially played out on this. Got the rejection on monthly supply, and it's come down and taken out the low. And we can say this is a swing failure, but it's only a swing failure once we see it break supply. So I'm just looking over at my screen, which is now fine. Interesting. So far we haven't taken out supply, but again, something you can watch lower time frame. Does it consolidate through here? Is that now the low? So that's definitely something that's worth considering. But a nice short anyway for an intraday trade, if anyone managed to get that. BGB is just crazy strong and is only on the BitGet exchange, so I generally don't really put alerts on this. I think I did have an alert back down here at monthly demand, and that wick just front ran me. And this is just, obviously it's super strong, but I don't buy things that are this high because it's just crazy. But again, if you want to get scalps from here, that's fine. just bear in mind we've had such a big up move, we might start getting some pullbacks, but there's a 3-day demand there. There's nothing wrong with looking for longs on that zone if it does revisit there, although you have to be a little bit conscious now that it's made a weekly demand at current price. So if that fails, then once this makes a 3-day demand, this might, maybe I will put an alert on there just for, no, I won't, because most people aren't trading BIC yet. This might then flip into weekly supply if this 3-day demand gets tested and it stays down there too long. BICO came off monthly supply, back in monthly demand, fairly like a lot of the other alts that I've said, that triangle structure, monthly supply up there, monthly demand here, don't know which way it will break. So worth watching because it's obviously hit that monthly demand. If this is the giant alt reversal, maybe this will just take off. But again, it's still overarchingly in a downtrend. So I don't want to preempt that at this stage. These demands aren't strong enough for me to say, oh yeah, this is going to be alt season breakouts. I think it also closed. No, it hasn't closed with a yearly supply, but it's just back below that level at the moment. Down too low time frame there. It might create a 3-week supply. It hasn't yet. It's got a 2-week supply in there. And again, I've gone slightly more conservative with the short entry up on 4-day on the top because of the fact we're doing a first test of this monthly demand, so we might get a bigger move. However, there's plenty of zones in between, so I think even if these alts do hold, these zones hold on the alts, I think we've potentially still got some time in them. Where they're gonna come back down, maybe retest, make a higher low, then. So I think we should have more time, and if we don't, then I'll start to see, any of the local alerts that I put in here. I'll just start to see break. Once those break, then you can potentially look for the retest for the higher low. Sorry, BICO, I don't think I have any, so that's the shorts there on the 5-day supply, and I haven't got a new long entry on this for the moment. Sorry, it just went off the BICO chart again. Yeah, so either it's going to hold this monthly demand. I could potentially put a 2-week, or is that a weekly? The weekly's already been tested locally. I could potentially put a follow-up alert here, but coming off monthly supply, I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on anyway. BIGTIME. Again, coming off monthly supply, did take a wick above it. It has some space till this 2-week demand, so the next alert's down on 2-week demand on here. It's slightly different structure with everything else, so it's nice to have a little bit of a change. And then 2-3 week supply is going to be up here, and there's a 5-day in there at the moment. So look at shorts there. If it retests there, ideally to come down into here. If it comes to here first, same applies. Billy, another one with the bigger downtrend. So I've got an alert here that's more aggressively. So this does have a 2-monthly supply in there, but I've kind of put the alert slightly more aggressive on the 4-day, 5-day supply just below it. And I think I just wrote in the alert 2-month and 1-month just above if this does wick through. And as I've said on other things, you can look for whether this has history on another exchange. But you can look for scalp shorts on any of these, which are just sort of in these epic down moves. Bio, another one that's in a very big down move. The Binance chart. So, just got an alert here on 3-day supply. If it revisits there, is worth watching. But a few 12 hours in between, so whether it gets back there is another matter. Blast. Again, another sort of challenging one because it's sort of got this long time support since when's that? Since August last year. Actually, on the daily chart, this hasn't got much history on this chart. But it's been hit now 3-4 times, so it's trying to hold again here. But whether it will hold, I'm slightly more skeptical now. And with coming off of a swing fail of monthly supply, I'm more comfortable with looking for shorts on this. But look for shorts at the 2-3 week area if it comes back into here. Yeah, 2 week supply in there. It's already tested on the weekly as well, but so again, this might reject a bit lower. I might move that alert down a little bit lower. I think. And there's a daily supply there as well. Might just move this alert down slightly more aggressively. 4-day supply, and then 2 week just above. Got a slightly more aggressive entry on that because it is looking a bit weaker and just with so many tests here. Blue. It's one of the strange MEXC charts with a massive gap in it. So I've just been looking for scalps on this more than anything. We had a 2-day demand alert hit, I think at the weekend. It's a little bit earlier than it looks on this chart. And it actually had a really nice, quite strong move up to this supply up here, but didn't quite hit my 5-day alert. So I've got an alert for a short on 5-day, 2-week supply. And beyond that, yeah, we just need to see more from this. I don't want to be longing. This is a 12-hour demand, might hold again, but I don't want to be longing a third test unless I see it make it through supply first. Blur. So this is something with a monthly demand that's come really deep inside it. Yeah, so I had an alert for the top of the monthly there. Obviously, it wasn't strong and timing wasn't good, and we're coming off 6 months supply. So coming from 6 months supply, as I've said before, if you're coming from 6 months supply, then I expect to take out the low that created the 6 month. But hold on, let me just look at the lower time frames. So this dropped first before coming to test the 6 months. So yeah, I would expect it to take out that low in that 6 month downtrend. So this is a weak monthly demand, which is why it's obviously drifting through it. And why also I've been slightly more aggressive on the short on this again, just due to 6 months supply. And it doesn't mean it won't come back up and test here, but I'm more comfortable being slightly more aggressive. And just see what happens if we're going to go down and take out this low. Blaze was delisted from Binance, so that is why it's suddenly sort of weakened and didn't hold. It had this big drop and hasn't really bounced very strongly since then. I think I've had this alert on monthly supply for a while, but it may not get past this. Could find support here. It's got some wicks. Again, it's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits on this support. It did swing fail on this, so it's possible it bounces from here. And again, for that reason, I'm not being too aggressive on a short on this, but also I'm not overly confident of a long here either. So I've left the alert much, much deeper. So just much more wary alerts on those. BNB's on my other majors and have had a separate update, so I'm leaving that off this list. BNT I quite liked actually. Excuse me, I just need to straighten my legs underneath my laptop. BNT. Let's reposition myself. Yeah, BNT. I mean, it's one of the ones that it hasn't hit major supply up here. It does have a higher low, does have 3 months demand. It came deep down into it, and I would, in a perfect world, I would have liked test on this 2 week inside. So that's where I've got a possibility with long entry, but it is holding this 5-day demand in here. So again, because it did have a fairly harsh rejection off this candle, I have got an alert for a 12-hour supply alert there. But I actually don't mind this, so I think you can watch this on the lower time frames. If it comes back down into this 2 week demand, that's definitely worth watching. The risk you run is obviously those trend lines stop. So I haven't really commented on that much on alts because we haven't seen many of those but a lot of these monthly demands have these trend line stops in them, which made me again slightly wary, but still looking for longs. But just be conscious that we could just get a bounce and then come back and take out the trend line stops. But I quite like this structure on the bull side more than many of the others. Yeah, that's worth watching if if you like longs and you like to be bullish, and or you think the market's quite bullish. This is one of the stronger ones. BNX, one of the weaker ones. This obviously was super strong all throughout 2024 and one of the strongest. But then once it started to break down, like it really started to break down, and it hasn't bounced on any zones since then. I don't know if this, I don't know if it's still on Binance, so it obviously didn't get delisted. I need to take the alert off this all-time high because I don't want to waste an alert up there. So yeah, it's not really getting any bounces at all. So I just keep moving the long entry down, and it's really getting, I got a little bounce here and consolidation, a little bounce here, but yeah. It's now just wick through monthly demand, and it potentially could swing fell off the monthly demand there. So you can look at this for longs now if you want. I don't think there's anything on the low time frame that's making me. Yeah, I mean it's only one day into that, but yeah, so that's something that's worth keeping an eye on. And then I've just been again more conservative on the alert because of that swing fail there, and just put an alert at monthly supply on this. Um, However, it does have a 3 week. Let me see if that's confirmed. It's not a 3 week confirmed yet. It's got a 2 week confirmed, a weekly confirmed supply in the middle, and then there's 5 days. So, um, but yeah, certainly keep an eye on this and see if you can get some consolidation for a possible long. At least it has space to supply, unlike so many of the others. BOBA should be in here. I might have lost my BOBA chart. Hold on, let me just go. Probably took. I meant to take one out of this, but I probably took the wrong one out. Okay, yeah. So there's BOBA. Another very messy one. So it made a monthly demand, but it's deep inside it. Yeah, so this is just kind of monthly demand, flip supply, flip demand. So it's just a fairly nasty structure. And again, that sort of sideways structure. So I've got an alert there just on the 5 day supply at the top, and then a very, very conservative alert down on 2 week demand. If it should be go all the way back to the lows, there's just nothing in here that I really want to be looking at. And then go back to the other list. BOME is the next one. Going to get to the end of the bees and then have a couple of minutes break so I can have a drink, get myself a coffee. Okay, so BOME, yeah. So I put an alert there that I hit yesterday just to look for a swing failure. So yeah, you can start looking and see if it's going to give you a long, having now taken out that low. Get down onto like the 12-hour, 8-hour, 4-hour time frames. I think this is a 4-hour when I looked in the stream earlier. So yeah, we do have hasn't broken through any supply yet, but does have a 4-hour demand on here. The only thing on this, actually, just do check other exchanges, because while I'm looking at Bybit, like if you look at Binance or whatever other exchanges it's listed on, this may not be the low. But yeah, so you can watch that 4-hour demand for see if it gives you a low time frame entry that takes it through the supply, but just be conscious we're still in a downtrend and still in this supply. And then I've got an alert at the 5 day up there for a possible re-entry to a short. Bone. So another one with multiple tests on a weekly level. So not confident particularly on longs at this point. And I've put an alert on 2 week supply there and an alert on the all-time low. Again, may not be the all-time low if it's not next C. But yeah, just alerts on those. So I'd be looking for probably for the downtrend to continue here. It does also have the untested 5 day further up, so it could still run through if it wants to hold this as support. Yeah, the initial short entry would be on that 5 day supply in there. Brett. One of the stronger ones still holding monthly demand. One of the stronger ones, but also possibly one of the ones that's going to roll over now. We do have a swing fail of the high. We're coming back down into monthly demand, so it's going to need to pick up strength off here pretty quickly. It's not a strong monthly demand, so actually the better demand is down a little bit lower where this consolidation has bounced because this hasn't made a new high, so it's this demand below. But again, this demand is just choppy and messy. But yeah, so I put another long alert down on this 2-3 day demand inside the lower monthly. If this monthly holds, then great. We'll see what happens. But because it's monthly demand again, I haven't put a very aggressive short alert, and I've just gone with a short alert in the top 5-day supply on that. BSV. Oh, this was just a nasty chart. So again, it's coming off annual supply. And I thought I put an alert on this trend line. I think maybe I didn't. Yeah, so I think I was thinking about having an alert on the trend line. But because it's a monthly, 3 monthly demand, it could possible it just wicks through and still holds the 3 month. However, we are coming off annual supply on this. So it's slightly more challenging. But again, when you've got all the wicks like this, it's hard to know if this is going to give a break retest. If it's going to give a decent break of the trend line and then a retest. Let me think. Yeah, I'll leave that alone. That is a possible trend line. So if you see this trend line break and you get a retest, that's great. I think I'd rather see that I made a 2-week supply. I made a 2-week supply by a hair. But I think I'd rather see just a bit more of a move down and a rounded retest on this. However, yeah, the bias is certainly bearish due to coming off annual supply. But I think, yeah, I've actually put no entries. Well, I've only one entry on this higher up due to the 3 month demand in case we do get a play out that goes higher into supply. But yeah, I'm probably more likely. I think we're going to see this trend line break. Burger. Another one coming off an annual supply, or I think actually this is a new annual supply. I think it might have been a 6 month or a 3 month previously up there, but so I've re-alerted just because I like to have the high time frame things on there. So I've re-alerted the annual supply up there if it gets a retest, and then we've also got a more aggressive alert on the 5-day supply just immediately above price because again, not really a good support here. And I potentially want to see this, expecting to see this breakdown now, having had so many hits on the level. And then there's an alert here, just again, we've got that swing fail of the low there, so it's worth looking for a retest entry. But longs are not high probability on this with the annual supply being with it coming off annual supply, or sorry, with it coming off at least at this stage monthly supply or 3 monthly supply, but with the annual also now in place, even if it hasn't tested. Finally, on the BLUE-BZZ, also another annual supply. I'm not sure if this is also a new one. No, this was an old one, which is now tested. So again, obviously the bias is still very much down on this. And on that basis, again, I've got a slightly more aggressive short entry on 2-week supply in there. 3-week demand below have alerted for longs, but again, bear in mind it's not high probability given we've got an annual supply and we've got a swing fail of this zone. So then we do have a swing fail of the lows as well. So it's possible it can pick up support in here, but again, my bias is still probably down on this. Okay, let me just take a brief break just so I can get my voice back temporarily, and I will be back in a moment and do the C's. Okay, hi again. I'm back just to finish off with the C's, and I want to try and do this quicker because my voice is really going. Okay, so C98, um, monthly demand, coming off monthly supply up here, so it shouldn't be in there. Coming off monthly supply up here, made a new low. So again, just still in this sort of larger range, but a slightly downtrending range with a new monthly demand. So if this holds great, the zone's already been hit, so I haven't got an entry there. So I've just put an entry again if it does move slightly lower inside there. And again, I've been slightly more conservative, just the 2 week supply here, not the immediate 5 day, because of the fact it's monthly demand. So we just look at the strength coming off there. Cake. Um, So Cake also now has a yearly supply, which I think wasn't there previously. So I've alerted that. Let me just check. Yeah, so I've alerted that yearly supply. I think it was already a 6 month and it's already tested obviously inside the 6 month, but now it's a yearly. Um, it could get a strong move. It also hasn't quite tested this monthly demand down here. I think my alert went for this wick and I reset it. And this is back up in 5 day supply now. Um, so yeah, we'll just that alert slightly higher. Um, so just, yeah, see what happens if we come back and test this monthly demand. Doesn't look too bad here. But again, it's still in this large range. So is it going to hold mid-range or is it going to drop back down to the bottom of the range based on the yearly supply? If it comes and hits the yearly supply, then again, we expect it to break the low. CARV. Something that's also looking a little bit more ropey, with obviously a lot less history. So I have an alert for 5 day, then 2-3 week supply in here on the short side, and on the long side, we've got a daily 12-hour demand just down below. So you can see if that gets any sort of a decent bounce, and maybe again check history if there's any history on other exchanges. When I do add these things to the watch list, each new alt, I do look at everything on TradingView that has history. So I will choose the one with the most history on TradingView. But yeah, it doesn't mean they haven't got pre-TradingView DEX screener history. So always worth looking at there. Now we come into all the cat coins, which are all very, very bearish. And I've just done a mixture of supply alerts on this one, monthly supply, just because it's got a monthly. It may never get back there. Um, it's got a 5 day in between. It's got a 5 day here. I was already tested. It's got a 5 day here, so it could well just test in this 5 day and these lows and drop. But I've just been again slightly more. These can wick these low liquidity coins, so I've just been slightly more conservative, but also just again to have some higher time frame alerts set in case we do get a bigger run. CATE, similar, except I've been slightly more aggressive. So this is a 3 week supply in here. I thought the highs could get targeted, so this could get a wick through. So I've just put a comment accordingly. Got a 3 week up there, but this is possible we'd get a wick into just taking out these stops on this. So yeah, that's another short there. Obviously no longs. CATI, I think, is similar scenario. It's going to be other CATI chart. Again, okay, it's possible that it swing fails this low, so we'll see. Alert set on the 3 week or 2 week, 3 week supply in this middle section if we get a retest. But again, has equal highs, so a bit of a risk it could come back and wick and take out the highs, particularly if it swing fails the low here. So something to keep an eye on. Cats, another very bearish one. And again, as I've said previously, it's got daily supplies that are being rejected throughout here. And I've just gone slightly to the higher time frame for short alerts, so 2 week, 3 week supply up here. If we get a decent test, cat singular. So this I did have an alert go on yesterday. There's a 12-hour demand down here, so it was worth looking at for a potential scalp. It has broken trend. And obviously potentially has this sort of bottomless pit, although is still holding weekly demand. But yeah, I'm again likely to be more aggressive. Well, I'm more aggressive on the short here, 5 day supply, because it's obviously more likely that this is just going to fall off a cliff now. If we break this supply and come up to hit, then we have the 2 week supply just above. But again, if we've got new demand at that point, great. Else probably looking for this to break down. It's a nice sort of distribution pattern with a deviation and then a subsequent swing failure. back into some of the older coins with the history and have a lot of that sideways movement. So again, this giant sideways movement on CELO coming off annual supply. So annual supply here, and then the retest at what's that, 5-day weekly supply. Move that 5-day. Hitting weekly supply there. This is one of the ones that's made a big 3-week supply, and potentially might make another one. So it's choppy and messy, but made a 3-week supply, rejected it. Now it's got potentially a new 3-week, but also a 2-week in there. But again, due to being in monthly demand, I've been slightly more conservative with the short, so just going for the 5-day supply up here for the short entry, and then possibly taking out this wick into 2-week demand for a possible long entry. Maybe not much at the level there though, so it could dip down deeper into this zone. CELR. For some reason I've got a very distant long entry on this down on 3-month demand in there, but I've also got a local one. I'm actually going to take this one off because I don't want to waste alerts. So again, just still holding that, similar to I think that and quite a few of the others we looked at, just holding this massive long consolidation in the middle of the up move. And it did wick down and take out the lows, but then this move didn't manage to make a higher high. So again, it could still, for me, very much could go either way on something like this. And I think, yeah, again, monthly demand here that I've got alerted for the low, and I also had a 3-week demand which has hit. It's got 5-day supply, it's got 3-week, it's got 2-week, probably 2-week supply now. I've got 3-week, well, potentially going to have a 3-week, which is currently a weekly, but has already been tested. So I haven't put any new shorts here. It hasn't got the 2-week, and all the 5 days have been pretty much tested except for the nearest one. So it's possible you get a short off the nearest one, but because of the 3-week demand, I'm not putting an aggressive short on that. So I've left the short for the possibility of, well, I haven't actually set the alert because I think it's unlikely, but that would be again looking at that back at that monthly supply if it revisits there. And then looking down here for possible longs. CETUS. Okay, so this is a sort of picture I drew for the previous failed stream. Might as well I can leave them on, I guess. So yeah, what we were looking at here is we've got an annual demand. So I've alerted slightly more aggressively. There's a 3-day just above the annual, and just in case it front runs, so I've alerted the 3-day demand below, and I've also alerted this 2-week supply above. So it could, there's a weekly level here that it might just hold, and then it's trying to hold support on the top of this wick here with the current low. But what I was saying, I think in the previous failed stream, was that I was hoping for a move up, rejecting somewhere in here, come back down, testing this annual demand, and then hopefully the big move. And then I've also would alert the all-time high and look for either this annual move comes up and takes this out and breaks out, and then you get the retest up there, or we fail and we get a swing failure up there and then potentially come back down deeper into annual demand. And these are obviously two possible scenarios, as many possible scenarios. And it's going to depend on where the market is, when these zones are tested, and what Bitcoin's doing, etc. So, but yeah, watch here initially for the short if you get it, and then certainly watch there for a long on the annual demand. CETUS is one of the stronger ones. Hopefully it just won't pull a BNX where it's strong for months and then fails dismally when it does decide to fail. Okay, so CFX, 7 alert just on 5-day supply on this, and then there's a trend line. I think that this was the trend line alert I did set, but I guess I haven't refreshed the page, so it's not showing up. With the black cross. So yeah, this I've set the alert on, I think on the 12-hour or the 8-hour. So again, the alerts on trend lines set for the time frame you do it. So it's just, the problem is if it does drop, if you have a daily or a 3-day time for a trend line alert set, then it can be all the way down here before you actually get the entry. So set it out, I think, on the 12-hour. I think I mainly set this because we have this monthly supply. So I think it put in one of the few things that put in a new monthly Nope. No, it's actually got monthly demand in there. I don't know what I've got. Hold on. Oh no, it had. No, okay. So this hasn't got. I think it's got 3 week supply, but it had. So it had a monthly here. I should take that out. So it's just flipping backwards and forwards on the monthly. It actually has monthly demand on this 3 month supply. That was it. It's got 3 month supply. Excuse me. I'm just trying to remember these. So yes, so it's got a 3 month supply. Let me just take the pictures off and show you. So it did not strong. It did close slightly below, but then obviously that makes me certainly more bearish. So it's looking for shorts if we move up to the 5 day inside that, and all shorts now, and all break of this trend line. So really, I want to see this trend line broken, and then I'm just going to extend that out a little bit, and then we look for a short on the retest, potentially coming back down into this 2 week demand down here. CGPT got a nice short off the high there, and then it's just, yeah, is it going to hold? Is it going to break down? Obviously one of the stronger ones, but it's coming back up to supply, so it's a challenge. It's got a new monthly demand in here, so that's where I've got an alert on the monthly in there. And then we just need to see what follow-up PA this is going to get. It could still hold here for another move up. I don't think, for some reason, I haven't got. I'm going to put an alert on the all-time high. Because if we do get that up move, it's always worth looking for a swing failure or the breakout retest trade if it moves up from here. And you can look if you want to, if you're a scalper. It's got 5 day demand. It's just hit there. 4 day. You can certainly look first to see if this holds in here and gives you the up move from this level, particularly given BTC has been pretty strong. CHEEMS. So this, I know I had so we've got all the history below there on the CoinEx chart. So I did have a short alert on this on the 2 week supply that hit yesterday, I think, a weekly supply that hit yesterday, and it did have a decent move down off that level, but has got a daily demand in there, so it's coming up fairly strongly to try and test that. But you can look for sort of failed retest of this high, or possibly a move a little bit higher into this 12-hour up here. Long entries I've got on this 2 day demand here, and then there's a 3 week below. But like I say, the bigger picture, got that 3 week, and then it's got a long way to fall if it wants to. So it's just a fairly nasty structure, really nice trend line break on there. That would have been a nice trend line to break, although it didn't give a retest, or this is the retest. So looking for a lower high to be put in here. If it does put in a lower high, then it's potentially got a decent sized drop it can do. Very Bart kind of chart, very Bitcoin. It looks like Bitcoin kind of Bart move. But yeah, that was a nice entry. So if anybody got that yesterday, then great. And then we just need to see how it develops. If it can give the bigger move down. Chess. So just a sort of choppy, messy chart. I remember I didn't like this one much at all. So it came off 2 month supply up there. We've got a 3 month. We've got a 3 month demand. No, 3 month supply. So it's got a bigger 3 month supply here that obviously it's gone and tested really high inside, and then it's played that out to break the low. But again, just in this sort of giant sideways range. It does have 2 month demand. So again, could potentially get the move up from here. Got a swing fail of these lows. Quite an aggressive swing fail of those lows. So this 2 month demand is certainly worth watching this for longs. I think my alert again, I can see there's so many lines through there. I think it's just it wasn't overly clear where it might fall to. But so the alerts on the 2 week demand at the bottom here does have the same 2 week, 3 week supply as everything else. There's a surprise. But again, I haven't put aggressive short alerts on this due to the 2-month demand, because this, if it does move, could potentially give a decent move up if the market decides to allow it. It does, however, have it's also got a weekly supply here that it hasn't quite tapped. An immediate test there. Again, just still got that just chop that makes it really quite hard to. So it's all holding this weekly demand as well. But we just need to see a bit more from these. CHILLGUY, I know, fell off a cliff, and this obviously does have history on Dex Screener, so I know there's demand down here somewhere on this. I'm just not sure exactly where. I couldn't alert on 2-week supply there. CHR, another choppy, messy sideways thing. In 3-week and 2-week demand here. I might just move that alert, that box down a bit. So again, I've just gone slightly more conservative on the 5-day supply up there, because again, still holding this 2-week demand, and also has a bigger 3-month at the base. So again, something like this, we're still seeing that consolidation coming off the 3-month demand. So this could still give a really strong move if it wants to. It's just very, very slow. And again, when you've got these very high time frame demands, that's how they can be very, very slow. So I've got an alert down on 3-week demand at the base of that if it does fall down to the base. But yeah, still looking for strength on this, but in a slow fashion. CHZ. It's in a sort of giant descending triangle, so it's sort of do or die. The momentum is dying in both directions, really. So we're still under 6 month supply, so I'm still overly, so my bias is still bearish, but lower time frames, we're still in this sort of very small range. I do think this is going to, obviously, it's ready to do a decent move. It's getting towards the end of this triangle, so either it's going to die or it's got a pump, like one of the two. So it'll be interesting. So yeah, again, I haven't gone too aggressive on the short here, but it'll be interesting if we see this 5-day hit, and if it does reject there, then I probably will expect to take out the low. It does still have monthly demand down there, so I do have an alert. It's just hiding there on that, just above that monthly demand. So again, this is something you should trade both directions. If that monthly holds, then great, you could really get the big move on this. But if that 5-day fails, then maybe we're going to see much, much lower. City. Again, rejection here off 3-month supply. And I put an alert in on just 3-week, 2-week supply in here. It does have a 5-day higher inside it. And it's also got, but so it's already rejected. It made a new 2-month supply, which it's already rejected. So I'm assuming we're now in that trend where we're going to get lower highs, lower lows. So yeah, just watch that come back into there, and then potentially this could give a very significant move down if it wants to. CKB. Another one with a bit of chop, and it's kind of floating. So yeah, it's found support on this old yearly level here. But still floating, and still not, like, this is not, while this is a support, I don't really consider it a good demand. Like, I'd rather a support level coincided with some sort of demand, even if it's a 3-day or a daily. So I don't know, maybe there's a daily in there or something, but it doesn't look like it. So again, this is second test on 2-week demand. We already had a test that gave a move up to 3-month supply. If we've got a 3-month supply in this, yeah, so it's a new 3-month supply, so I really expect this to come down lower. So bias on that is definitely for the down. It's had a monthly, which it's also tested into. So I think I went, yeah, slightly on that basis. I went slightly more aggressive on the short entry, and again in this 5-day inside 2-week supply there. And again, would potentially want to see a bigger move down. Still a possibility of a triangle, but the supply is definitely building up enough for me to be short biased. CLORE. Another one that's okay, bounce on a 3-day demand, but would prefer that to be on a more significant demand, particularly now it's made monthly supply. So again, looking for short entries on that, more aggressive here on that monthly 2-week supply level in there, and hoping to get a move further down. Cloud. This is one with a possibility, obviously, of a swing fail of the low here. Assuming it's not for now, I've set an alert on that 3 week, the 2 week, so it's potentially a 3 week, but it's 2 week / weekly supply is already in play there. So again, just being slightly more bearish here, but could still swing fail that low. So up to you if you want to play that swing failure off the low and see if it gets a bigger move up. But it's going to need to get, so that in the short term, if you're looking for a swing failure, it's still got this big 2-day supply in here, so it's going to need to get through that. In fact, need to get through. So in order for the swing fail to be valid, it needs to make a higher high. So it's got to get above this high, and then we're going to run straight into a monthly. But you can certainly watch the low time frames there to see if you can get an up move through here. Maybe it'll take out this zone. But again, clouds worth looking at other exchanges on this as well to see if there's more history. CLV sort of 30% up move today, and this was one of the nice examples of what I was saying with some of these local supplies. So this has had a 2 week, it's got a 5-day, but because it's hit this monthly demand, it's come off quite hard. So I think I didn't have that alerted, mainly because there was nothing at the level. But you can see because it's a monthly demand, it's actually gone straight up through a number of these supplies. So this is potentially worth watching now to see if this can make a new demand down there today. So if this can make a 12-hour demand in here, you might find you get a long entry. I'll have a look at that a little bit later to see if we can potentially get a long entry in here later today for a move at least up into here, and or if, because this is monthly demand, this could run from here. Probably need to see a bit more consolidation first, but that's obviously a decent move off the monthly to start with. Just have a look. Sometimes they does do these moves and just retraces them entirely, but it's worth watching if it makes new demand anyway, if it's given it's coming off monthly level. Combo. I think this is one I'm just a lot more bearish on again. So again, it's sort of daily demand, but it's got like multiple tests on that level now. And I think it could reject this 5-day supply right here, but at the moment it's a weak 5-day supply because it's still on a higher low. So I think I went slightly more conservative for that. So it's got 2-week supply here and 3-week. It's got a 3-week already, and it will potentially make a new 3-week. So yeah, looking for potential shorts in there to come down and potentially take out this low. And I put an alert on the low for a possible either swing fail or breakdown retest scenario. Comp. New monthly demand down here, so that's where the alert set for the long, and alert set for the short on the 5-day up there. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Like I'm feeling like I've already talked about these in the stream, and then I'm like, no, it must have been the stream earlier, but now it's confusing my brain having done this stream so many times today. So yeah, looking for monthly demand for longs there, and possible 5-day supply for shorts here. Take this zone off as well. It's just short of annual supply up here. So again, if we do get a move, so it's possible it could still hold this 5-day demand and get another move up here. If it does, then you've just straight up into annual supply. So it's up to you if you want to start to continue to look for longs at this level. If it does consolidate through here, we might get a continuation from this zone. My preference would be down here, and yeah, so if it comes down and visits this monthly without taking out that 5-day, then I would delete that 5-day. In fact, this is a 6-month, so this is actually a decent 6-month zone on there. It's actually closed probably one of the highest we've seen so far above the zone. It hasn't closed above the wick, which would be perfect, but has closed nicely above the zone. It's hit a 3-month level up here, admittedly, but 6-month demand is not to be sniffed at, so certainly look for longs if we get a revisit there. Cook. Another one with less history that looks like it's breaking down. So I had an alert for a break of this trend line. I think it came down too fast, so it hasn't really given the proper retest. So then I've thrown in this retest entry on 2-week supply there. So that's if this trend line break is gonna be a thing. Ideally, I would have wanted this to go deeper into the 2-week demand, because it's still holding support really for a more solid short re-entry, but it's worth considering. And then down here, I've just put a long on this daily demand in case it tries to hold the bottom of the range. COC has bounced just slightly above that low. In fact, has now, since I did this yesterday, has now put in a 12-hour demand there. Bit dubious on that one. I mean, okay, it could try and find support there, but obviously, so I've got a short entry more aggressively on 2-day supply there. This is coming off annual. So again, this is coming off an it has an annual supply. Hasn't tested it. Tested it on the 6-month basis. So with the downtrend, we do expect to be taking out this low, and obviously it's taken its time doing it. Came all the way back up to test this monthly and take out the stops of these in November, December. But yeah, I kind of would expect this to be taking out that low and continuing the downtrend here. So yeah, just see the reaction on the immediate supply on this. See if it gives another wave down from there. Core is again one that's sort of dipping now. It's had that monthly demand and it's tested it multiple times with it being unable to make new highs. So it's now dipping down much more deeply. Might find support back on this 3-weekly level again. And then I've set an alert for the 2-week, 3-week supply above the shorts. And then I've set an alert. This is probably overly conservative on the 3-day demand down there. Let me just look at the monthly quickly. I might move that up. I think that's even for me. That's taking. So the monthly did get an immediate test, and I don't tend to like second tests, but if it's a rounded retest and an immediate test, then it's possible it gets that second bounce once it re-hits that monthly. So yeah, that's not to say it's not going to hold here, but it's it's a large 3-week zone. And yeah, it's a large green candle. So yeah, there's something like this. I think still holding the monthly, but yeah, probably pushing towards a short bias and looking for lower. I guess generally looking at all these alts, like my bias is certainly much more short than long. Let's just hope I'm not being too aggressive with the fact when I say I'm still short bias, we are shorting still quite close to support. This one's another one, 2-3 week supply, short entry possibility there. It is still again in a massive 3-month demand. It's had a decent move off there and has swing failed this low, in fact, with the strong move off it. So it's possible we move up from here. But again, I'll see, if we get a decent move off here and we break this supply, then we can look for a retest. Yeah. COTI is going to be another one of the big sideways ones. Got a big monthly demand in there, or a 3-monthly demand or something, but no level on it. Okay. So obviously this had a massive monthly demand in here and it's come down really deep inside it. Have a look, 3-month. So again, just sort of the choppy sideways giant triangle scenario. We're just not getting those big moves on alts that indicate alt season for the last couple of years, to be honest. People call this alt season, and it's certainly one really solid month, but then it's retracing the entire thing. So choppy monthly demands. We do have monthly demand, two sitting on top of each other, and we're coming back down to the lower one now. An initial move. Let's go back down and look at the weekly. So we had an initial move off that first monthly, but again, didn't get very high, so it's now coming back for a second test. Again, because of monthly demand, I've been slightly more conservative on the short entry, up at 5-day supply up there. And I think longs I just couldn't. There was nowhere I really wanted to long on this because it's just too messy and choppy below. The lower high could mean we come back down into these lower zones. But yeah, there's no clean long entry that I want to put on that at the moment. Cow, I think. Yeah, so my alerts are on this chart. So we've had a weekly supply, which got the actually. So it's got a weekly supply. I actually did have I'll show you the 5 day. I did have an entry, a short entry for this 5 day, and then for that 5 day, and it actually went straight up through. I think it was a 5 day, or maybe it wasn't at the time, but there was something. So I had a more immediate. Let me show you much lower time frame. So yeah, maybe the daily supply. I think I had a short entry on this daily supply here, but we went up to the 5 day at the top before dropping back down. It was just one of those random wicks. So I've thrown in another short entry on 5 day supply, assuming this is just a stop hunt, and potentially long entry down on 3 day demand down there. And then there's a 5 day just inside. So again, it gets choppy, but this is just a more aggressive entry potentially on the top of 3 day demand. Cream, another one in a really fun big downtrend. On the lower time frames now, so I haven't drawn anything in on the lower time frames. This is actually hasn't taken out the low down here yet. Got a feeling maybe this was delisted from Binance as well. I can't recall. For whatever reason, I've been slightly less aggressive on putting some of these zones back in. Appear to have disappeared. So it's come, yeah, it's come off 6 month supply, or it's made a 6 month supply. Let me just check. Made a new 6 month supply. So yeah, I've been slightly less aggressive, and it does have a monthly that it's already come off in there. So this could just run from where it is now. And in fact, I should probably have the alert there. I'm going to reset this alert a bit lower. So if it gets a more aggressive move, then I would be looking for a short up on the 6 month supply up there. But because we have 2 week supply in here, I'm just going to move that slightly lower. Did that delete or not? It's just being difficult. Yeah, so alert on 2 week supply on this, and then failing that, the 6 month there. But yeah, this is generally looking not great. Still at support, I guess, and still, again, a number of these things, like maybe we're just starting to operate a bit more like Bitcoin, and we're just going to start swing failing a lot more than we have done previously. So again, we have taken out those lows. It could run from here. So again, you can watch it low time frame if you want. CRO. This is another one that I sort of thought was again a bit stronger. So I kind of moved this alert up and down a few times. So on the long side, we do have a 6 month demand, and then we've got a daily just above it. And it was a clean daily. So I kind of put the alert a little bit higher, but yeah, again, daily demand and then 6 months just inside there. I think we've also got a yearly if it goes deeper inside the 6 month, but this is certainly something that's looking much nicer on the high time frame. So it's a question of, are we going to get just sort of a bit of a retracement like this and then have a bigger move like that? Or are we going to get a, much deeper retracement all the way down here? But in order to think that that left side is going to happen, we need to see some supply break. So because of the more bullishness of this, I haven't been too aggressive on the alerts again. So back up in this 3 week supply, and there's a daily inside there. So just slightly more conservative on that. And again, still holding structure on the 12-hour as well. So this is not, while we've had a very long downtrend coming from like when 11th of November, it actually hasn't broken. It's got 8-hour demand. It actually hasn't broken the upward structure, even on the 8-hour chart. So this might just turn into a very nice long off here. So actually it's worth watching that. But then, yeah, this is sort of, well, we're kind of in this whole area as the first sort of area of possible resistance. CRV is another one that's stronger than many. It's a challenging structure. So you can see it's made this candle's just closed just above here. So it's made this 6 month demand. But hasn't closed significantly above it and is still in 3 month supply. So it's difficult. So it's like the actual down move coming from here, consolidate, drop. It hasn't broken. It's just swing failed. So thus I haven't drawn the 6 month demand, and I'm still keeping the 6 month, the 3 month supply in. However, it could just hold here or this 3-month level just below. We could see this consolidate through here for another move up. But again, there's not a clean entry on this for me right now. So take out some of these levels. So I want to give it a little bit more time, but as obviously I haven't put any more. I did have an aggressive short on 3-day supply there, which did actually give a move down, and it does have a new 2-week supply. So I don't want to be long in this, in fact. But yeah, short wise for any added shorts, I'm waiting till it breaks higher, or longs wait till it breaks lower. Else we just need to see a bit more of this 2-week play out and see if it gets some new demand. Let me see if there's anything on the daily. No, so it's made a daily supply as well, or it has a daily demand, but you just need to see, needs a bit more consolidation through here to be sure that this 2-week supply isn't going to break out, take it down for a lower low. But because of the 6-month and 3-month levels, I've kind of gone more aggressive on long entries. I'm going to put that in the alert actually. Also 3-month level and 6-month demand. So that's CRV, CSPR. It's got a monthly demand here. I'm trying to think why I haven't alerted that. Okay, so I haven't alerted that because we're coming off annual supply. Actually, no, so it hasn't, again, it's made a new annual supply but hasn't tested it. But it did test it on the 6-month. So yeah, and I think it was, did it hit that? It was slightly short of hitting that, so I've reset the alert in case it does revisit. Yeah, and again, I probably would have had an alert on this monthly demand if I'd seen it sooner, but because now it's got 3-week or 2-week supply right above that it's testing now, I'm not overly confident with looking for that. Daily shouldn't be there with looking for longs on this level. You can keep an eye on that, if you see a swing fail of these lows. But again, I was looking for potentially a dip down deeper inside the monthly demand before a move up. CTC, another one that's a bit stronger and actually quite similar to CRV. So we've got that close above here, creating a 3-month level. We've got a 6-month demand that's much deeper inside. But that would be a very nice entry on the 6-month demand if it does go down there. It's just again a question of like how aggressive to be at this point. We've had this big up move. It's ended up in a giant swing failure into 2-month supply up here. So is demand going to hold? Or are we going to, retrace a lot more of this up move? Because obviously it can still retrace to the base and still be a higher low. So provisionally anyway, I've been more aggressive. I've set an alert on 3-day demand. I said, like I say, similar to CRV, but it could hold here because it is in a 3-month demand, or a 3-month level. And I've set a conservative 8-hour supply, short entry, just looking for the retest. Like if this 2-month supply is to play out, are we going to get the lower high after a push here? Meanwhile, we obviously have all the 5-day, 2-week, etc. supplies through here, so it could just reject sooner. I thought I also set, I'm pretty sure I also set a trend line alert on this, but I'll go back and check that afterwards. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a trend line alert, so if we do get a decent break of this trend line, put the black cross on it showing if we get a decent break of that trend line, I'd look for long entries on this sooner. CTK, this was just messy. I remember when I did this, it's got, trend line stops above here, trend line stops below here, trend line stops even here. And I didn't even really know why I had entries on this anyway, but so I put an entry for an alert for 2-week demand and an alert for 2-week supply. But again, trend line stops make this not overly high probability. So CTSI again is coming off monthly supply, and it is in a 2-monthly demand. But again, quite a few tests on this zone now. Let me just check the 2 months. Yeah, so we had the 2 monthly demand was made here, and it tested a few times and made a higher high. And now we've come down and we have taken out the lows, and we are still holding the 2 month, but not something I'm overly confident about either. Like, it's just not looking strong. And it's coming off monthly supply in here, so monthly's with a new monthly demand. So it's just, again, one of these triangles could go either way, erring towards bearish based on the coming off monthly supply from the original move at the highs and having space to demand at the lows. Or, even if it bounced off this level, still hasn't even hit that level. So I'm more bearish on this. And yeah, look for shorts on that 5-day supply and then coinciding with a retest of that monthly. CTXC, another rogue box. Gone more aggressive on the short here, so 2-week supply on the short. It is, yeah, and it did hit a possible long entry on 2-week demand there. Apparently, I haven't added any new entries to this. Let me just have a quick look at the 6 months and the year. Okay, yeah, so this has made a 6 month demand, made a higher high, retested the 6 months, unable to make a higher high, and now has retested the 6 month again. Sure when that test happened, so that happened in July. But again, so something again that could still break either way. I don't love it. So it's just swing failed the high there and swing failed the low here. So very much could go in either direction. So you just need to look at supply and demand. So if this 2 weeks suddenly becomes strong and we break this 2 week supply, then great. We can look for re-entries on the retest. But at the moment, I'm just stuck between 2 week supply and 2 week demand with no particular bias. Coming to the end of the C's, CVX. I think this is quite similar to CRV. It had the new 6 month demand here, but again, has 6 month supply and 3 month supply, in fact, above. So could hold here. Apparently, I've got a possible short entry, or did it hit already? No. I think I was looking there for a daily short entry. Let me just refresh this page quickly, because if I do things on my upstairs computer, then sometimes it just doesn't register down here unless I refresh the page, which is now apparently not refreshing. You going to refresh for me? Bizarre. Well, refreshing the page, it apparently refreshed the internet. Welcome to my computer. Yeah, so the alert has reappeared there. I hope I'm not setting alerts twice if I've done that for other things. I don't think I've made many changes today. So I think I did set an alert for the 1-day supply, and there's a 2 week at the top of it. So I was just a slightly more aggressive alert. I'm not sure why I did that, but yeah, there's a 2 week supply there, and then the 1-day. And I think I did that based on this being in a 6 monthly supply, but I put in the comment it's coming from 6 monthly demand, so it's a risky entry, but still potentially I think this could retrace down to the proper demand down here. So we'll just see what happens when that hits. Maybe I was getting frustrated earlier with my stream and I just thought I'd put in another random entry. CXT, this alert has just hit today, and it's obviously come down quite hard off it, so it's 2 week supply. So this is again one of the ones that comes straight up into 2 week supply, and it's actually in this case it's got a 4-day in the middle there, and the 3-day is not confirmed yet with the purple line. But it has a 4-day, so it actually hasn't taken out any local supply, but has come up into the 2 week supply there, and looking for a move down. It's only I think on a 12-hour or 8-hour something demand in here. So it's still holding structure, but I would like to see this come back down to here. You know, it's just a messy chart as well with lots and lots of wicks on this. They're probably not very nice to trade. Maybe too low liquidity. But yeah, so we're looking for longs down in here. No new shorts on this. Like either that breaks it down or it doesn't, in which case there's probably no real supply on this anyway. And finally, cyber. It's another one that's looking fairly nasty. Got the bounce like everything else did, but actually didn't even get back up to 2 months supply on this, and just came through the weekly and took out just I think some of the stops here, and in fact had a nasty wick daily. There's that 12-hour supply candle there, which is what's capped price at the highs. So again, yeah, just might come on down and take out these lows. Could find support here. It's the same as a number of other things I've talked about. You know, we're on this 12-hour demand, where it's taken a good few wicks through this now. There might be something lower time frame, slightly lower, but it's trying to get support on there. But it's now coming back for the third, fourth retest. Or maybe the 10th retest if you count all the different retests. So could get a move up from here, but with 2 weeks supply, it's probably less likely. So I'm more comfortable with looking for shorts in that 2 week supply. Did actually, I mean, you can see here that when we do have these choppy zones, so we did also have a 2 week supply at this point, you know, and it did run back through it. So if they're weak zones, and this was a weak zone and it hits support, then obviously at some point it has to break it and then it's retested, but that's when you're looking for the entry. So if this fails and this comes up higher, then we can get the retest entry for the long. But at the moment, I just don't think the long is high probability on this. Anyway, I think that's it. That's all the B's and C's, and I have no voice left. And I hope some people watch this and find this helpful. Let me just see if anybody's watching, if I've got anything in chat. Nothing in chat, but probably anyone who's got notified of this stream has seen me. This stream started about 15 times today. So, God, my camera really is awful, isn't it? Like the background remover doesn't work very well for the sofa that I'm sitting on. Anyway, I hope that's useful. Feel free to send me any questions in chat. Anything you're interested in, keep an eye on. Like I say, these are scalp entries, and you know my analysis may be different if I was looking at higher time frames. I do them very, very fast. So you're looking for zones. I say scalps, but you're looking for the zones to hit. Then you're looking for whatever the for the low time frames, and if they're looking low time frame reversals and entries, and then you're looking to take profits just when it takes out the next low or takes out the next high, depending on which direction you're in. Anyway, hopefully this stream is successful, and I can actually share it. Have a good evening.